I had the good fortune to hear on BBC Radio 4 this morning on the way here the myth of Demeter and Persephone with sneering left-wing commentary, and it reminded me just how lucky we are to have the BBC and how lucky I am to be British. But sneering aside, there was an interesting piece of criticism in there, and that was the criticism of later apologists to the myth, who wrote how Persephone conspired, consented to some of the misforced barking. The same thing happened with the Saxon myth of Wayland and what happened to Beahhild. Beahhild, if you can hear me, is mentioned in the anglo-saxon poem Deor, which is one of the few pieces of evidence about the English pagan religion, the pre-Christian one. And it's full of horror. It's full of the murder of children, the shaping of children's corpses into kitchen utilities. Now we've got a train. A possible rape, which is why I was talking about apologetics from later authors of Greek works, and just generally murder, slavery and mayhem. And as my wife puts it, the English history is one of horror and madness, and I think she's probably right. But it's one of the few pieces of information we have about the very deep past of England. So it can't be ignored. I won't ignore it. I think I'm in Compton Beecham parish. I've just left Uffington parish, I believe. And I'm in search of Beahhild's burial sas, which is a very strange spelling. That probably means Beahhild's burial. Now, I don't think for a second I'm going to find the real Beahhild's place of rest in the English countryside. She was a Danish princess, and the whole myth of Wayland is based around Denmark, just like it is of Beowulf. So it's again we come face to face with the idea that these people weren't as English as people like to think, and much more Scandinavian than they were belonging to the British, despite what I've said about Roman villas and burials in Roman villas. Beahhild, we have to face facts that her part in the myth is horrific, that Wayland took revenge on her father Neithad by abusing her, a rape, probably. Certainly that was his motive, whether she consented or not. There are apologetics out there in Norse that suggest that they got married and things like that. But the underlying implication is that she was not consenting in the first place. So should we even be looking? Sorry, let the train past. By the way, that's a great way to look at the White Horse of Uffington, is on the GWR to Bristol. Anyway, should we be even looking at these myths, as dark as they are? The problem is there is only fragmentary, very, very fragmentary evidence of the English religion, pagan religion, in the sort of 450s to 650s. Only tiniest fragments. We know virtually nothing about Woden, who's supposed to be king of the gods. You know, all we really know is that he uses sticks to drive away adders, and that's about it. And we know from linguistics his name means madness, really mad anger. So he's not somebody you would normally choose to. He's also the originator, the source person of the royal families of England in the Dark Ages, and that's about it. There's nothing more we know about him. There's a few place names, and that's it. Wayland we know a bit more. We know because of the Franks casket, which I went over in the 2 videos ago. I went over that myth. We can see that written into that box, that how close it is, and we can read it by referring it to the Norse legend of Wayland, to see the two things align, which means the English myth of Wayland is the same, almost identical to the Norse one. So we know quite a lot about him for that reason, and that's about all we know of the English pagan religion. Now Beahhild, the poem Deor talks about her, and it says, Beahhild ne was hura brodra death on 7 swasa hura silvra thing. Now what that means is that Beahhild ne was her brother's deaths as saw to her mind as her own thing, her own difficulties. And her own difficulties was having the child of Wayland. So it's a dark story. So am I going to find her grave here? Well, of course I'm not. But I can identify where the Dark Age writers of the 2 charters of Uffington and Compton Beecham thought it was. Compton Beecham calls it the Hilda's Hlaway, which means Hilda's burial mound. The Hilda is part of Beahhild, and we have in the Woolston Charter Beahhild's burials.